The Dome of the Rock is said to be on top of the old temple. Is that how you understand it?
Yes.
The first temple that was knocked down?
Sort of. There's new archaeology that's coming out that suggests that the temple that was destroyed, that Jesus prophesied would be destroyed, where there's not stone left on top of it, was actually down the hill a little ways because there's no water source on top of the Temple Mount right now. In order for there to be sacrifices, you have to have a water source. So they started digging down by a water source, and they've been finding old ruins that suggest that the temple's actually a little bit further down.
What I find interesting is it talks about in the Quran that their Mahdi is going to rule there in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, which is the Dome of the Rock. If like you said, if archaeology is correct, and that's exactly where the old temple was. What I find fascinating is this Mahdi is going to claim to be God, so that could be the desolation. That was kind of where I was
Yeah,
going with that. So
yeah, and that's probably the first time that I could actually see that becoming a reality. Because so often the narrative today is that the Jews are going to build their temple. That's going to be the third temple, and someone's going to go into that. It actually makes more sense to me that
yeah,
there's already an
it's
existing
already a
temple.
temple there.
Yeah, that someone's going to go in and say this is the God that you will serve, and then that's where that forehead and mark comes in. Is to where you need to believe this, or else, and you need to prove that you believe this, or else you're off with your head.
To what we were talking about, their Messiah, the Mahdi, just like we just mentioned, will claim to be God in their temple that's already built on top of the old temple. So there needs to be no other third temple built because it's already there.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of people in here saying we are the temple. So I agree. That's why I never thought that there was going to be a third temple, because scripturally we are the temple. Jesus, that was the accusation brought against him, because he said this temple would be torn down and built up, or and he would rebuild it again in 3 days. My understanding is there was never going to be another temple after that, because as the body of Christ, we are the temple. Jesus is the cornerstone. We're stones built on top of him. So I've always had an issue with this narrative about the third temple being built. However, what we're talking about right now, where there's an existing temple on the Temple Mount, with looking at this particular religion, I'm willing to reconsider that narrative that talks about someone going into the temple and declaring themselves God. In my mind, we're still considering this, but in my mind, as the temple, because our bodies are the temple, our mind is the temple, that's where you retain God in your knowledge. Somebody coming into, how does a man sit in your mind? And the only way I could see that as being a possibility is if it's some kind of a doctrine or religion, to where you have somebody trying to convince you to believe that someone else is God. That was my understanding of it. However, the angle that we're considering today, we're not necessarily saying we agree with this. We're just
Yeah,
considering it as a possibility.
we're
We all
speculating.
stand approved. Yeah, we're just speculating. We all stand approved before God, and we're told to study. This is a process of studying. You've got to theorize and consider things and put them under scrutiny to determine if they hold water or if they're just crap.